Okay. Let's just finish. Nice timing if so. Let's see. Stop one more preview over here. All right. This one. Okay, we're jumping right in. Well, this is definitely loading. I don't need to open anyway. It's all this stuff, truthfully. Hopefully we're caught up. 71 files. Hopefully we're caught up to main. This one caught my eye earlier, so I'm going to take a quick stab at it, but then I will be getting back into some library stuff, following up on some more PRs and things. But I saw this one go by, and I'm kind of like a squirrel with an acorn, so to speak. I'm always interested to hunt through a good displayio bug, and this one looks like something that I should be able to fix. So it's basically like when you give it a float here, you are going to get a hard crash, but you give it 2 floats, you don't. Or, wait, what? If x value is an int, we'll raise value, error, point length must be 2. X value. Number is a float. If x value is an int, it will say point length must be 2. X and y are both floats, which are these. Or do... Jose probably means this x and y that would be here, although this one happens to only have 1, so... Oh, I get it, I get it. Okay, so he passed 1 float here, and this error says point length must be 2. Point is the tuple representing the full x, y, the 2 values, and in this case it only has 1, so that's saying the length of the point tuple has to be 2. So that's what that error is. And so it's you know, it's interesting actually, I guess, like which error comes first basically, but like this one takes precedent, it turns out. So you get an error because there's not 2 inputs before you can get an error that the input is a float. X and y are both floats, it will raise x and y are both floats, it will raise x must be of type int, not float. Okay, so it is specific. So it's the other way around, actually. It's the other way around from what I just said. It is specifically when you give it a float as the only one. If you give it an int properly as the only one, just still improperly in that sense, then you get the error about it being only 1. Okay. So we're going to look at polygon shared bindings. Inside vector IO. Do I still have that one of these things? Nice. So we should be able to find... hopefully be able to find these errors. They just make it to there. Vector, validate type, points list, validate type. List. That validates that it's list. This would... technically they're tuple. Well, oh, points is the full list, I guess. Yeah, okay, the full list. Maybe from inside of here. Well, but that should be on the shared module side. I guess it gets all the way over to there. Shape, make new. Where is... so yeah, we don't have anything checking the number there, so let's go inside of here if we can. Control click doesn't come up, but that'll be in module, same file. Construct debug. We might be able to turn debug. Points list null length 0 under the object. Bobber points list. And debug new line. Bobber points list. God needs at least 3 points. Okay, so now we are doing some checking at least here. Case validation calls below fail. Validation calls below, okay. So used temporarily, points list null, length 0. Okay, there we go, validate length. So this is ultimately what raises this message. And then it says X validate type int. So length 2. Length tuple items. But if this one does come first, why do you not get that error actually then when you use a float as well? So then it goes on to say validate type int for X. Validate range on, I don't know where these come from, but we're validating the range, upper and lower. And check Y for int. Then validate range on Y the same way we did on X. Definitely where our validation occurs. It is very odd. I would expect from the code the way it is here, probably to see this one raise, right? Because you did only give it 1. Let's get a device plugged in here. This is going to be a little smaller, probably. Let's close some. Tech. We're gonna put a time.sleep in front of it also, so that after we come back from the hard crash, we have some time to press Control C. I'm just gonna make this smaller. I always forget what I think it's like 240 by 1 size on this one. I don't have the camera pulled up, but smaller. Float here as well. Okay, let's actually do the int first. One int, so we would expect this one to be nice. Oh, right. Yeah, no, that's fair. We got our time sleep. We could Control C during that. We'll just make sure it works. Okay. And then after the time sleep, it's going to actually run into its stuff. Oh, okay. Actually, that hard crashed for me with the int, but I guess it could have the wrong thing showing. Pretty sure it's got the int in it though. We'll close and reopen, I guess. Huh. On our prototype Titano, which is different, we could probably should in fact. A clean build of this beta 2. Oh. Right. Go add one of those, there's keywords, there's like a way to make it show up in the search. I always search that, feather TFT, and then it doesn't come up. Because in the name of the device, it's actually a different order. So that should be coming back, hopefully. One, two. Definitely does have 80 in there. This, I mean, I suppose this is outside the range. Maybe that's also, maybe there's also another bug with it being too big. Well, but this doesn't matter, actually. No. The size of this doesn't matter, right? Because, yeah, the polygon's its own point space. I like, aside from the fact that I have not a complete point, is there something else wrong with my values? So yeah, that's hard crashed for me. And this won't run. We're in safe mode. actually do get different issue, but I wonder if we print, are we actually going to be able to see our print? Okay. One thing that would be good is figure out how to turn this on so we can see these values. I mean, well, for one thing, I guess let's level set here. If we give it legit values, let's make sure it's working. Still won't run. We'll reset. It's not actually going to do anything if it does run. Because it doesn't draw on the display. Like it's made a polygon, but then it didn't actually put it on the screen. So it did succeed. Then, okay, what if we try like this? May have to backburner this one for now. We might need to be busting out the interesting type error x must be int. That one caught it. Where did we see that check happen? Oh yeah, that's the check in here. Checks validate type int. Length. But when you do have two things, it does correctly get you to there. I presume should do the same way same thing this way. Arg check, so it's length. Takes a required length, takes an arg name. Seems like on this device, that check doesn't work at all. Oh. Was I missing a comma? Was I missing a comma? There is no comma. So the thing, though, is that this is actually different, right? This is an int. This is just an int inside parentheses, which are being evaluated for order of operations. Because there's no comma, it's not a tuple. So that's probably why. Yeah, so the thing is that where does it pull the point out of this? Items, Is items? Items is here. Points tuple list. Points list. So set that to 0, create an empty tuple items. Use this to basically fill these two things from items I. This raises, this has a hard crash when you give it a thing that's not a tuple. An int. That's my theory. Because in the old code like this, we were giving it an int, which this 80 right here, which is in parentheses and looks like a tuple, but isn't actually, would have got passed in as items I, and but it would have been a number. And then that must hard crash also. Which means, I think, if we do this, I think our check will work, actually. Point length must be 2. So yeah, that works. Sorry, I clicked away. Even know, oh, it's not full screen, I see, okay. So, but then what if so then this was the original one, but with the comma, which I think is also critical in this case. Okay. Yeah. It's a red herring. That was the issue the whole time. This succeeds, but this is slightly different. Oh yeah, I was gonna read this. This was gonna be in the newsletter. Also, one of these days on the stream, we're gonna be playing with this thing. but it's going to be painful if you know TypeScript, because I don't very well, and it is TypeScript, so you're going to watch me probably flounder a lot, but we're going to give it a try. Right now we're going to go into here. We're going to find the link to the code that we're interested in, which is into here. Whoa. Why does this look weird? This bit's new. Is there like a blog of GitHub interface changes? Or like a release notes? Nice. This. Change log. Anyway. So many changes though, it's like... And this is across everything? I guess if I knew the... I don't know what it would... I mean, it's like web front end? I don't know what they call that. So yes, but I don't know how to find what for in it. Anyway, I don't think I've seen this before. All this stuff over here. It's interesting. It seems useful. Turn me off for a minute though. So how do you confirm a thing is a tuple? Is there... Can you validate type tuple? Just validate type. I mean... Okay, I mean it's mp obj tuple. See if we can find a place where this gets used for tuple. I wonder if there's a flag you can do to make this just give you everything. Dash A probably. Type. Doesn't. Oh, that one's. Oh, is there validate type tuple? And string type or none, type in. Okay. Envelope, fat file, list. That's pretty similar to tuple. USB. Can like do maybe grep tuple. Type tuple inside pixel map. Sweet. Pretty sure that's kind of pretty much the code we need. Does that return the tuple 2 though? Because then wouldn't that replace... the object tuple get? Would that replace this? Because a lot of these things, a lot of them return the object. But I guess it's still the wrong, just object T still. It has not done whatever it does to make it into a tuple yet. So right before here, we need to add maybe it has to be after here, actually, though, right? Because before this, it's not a tuple, as we just discussed. And actually, we still don't really actually ever have a tuple object, right? We have items, which is our list, basically. Then items here, and then it's turned into a list. We have tuple length, we have tuple items, so we skipped... Well, this is our tuple, I guess. Well, it's what we want to be our tuple. Okay, so if we did a check right here on items I, if we did this check right here, then I think we don't hard crash. And we don't have an equals. Can we just ignore the return? Is that bad? Because like ours is items I. Oh, interesting. This is using an args uobj. Like in a different context though, that's in shared bindings. Items. Actually in the place where we're at. Oh, we'll see. Yeah, it's tricky here too. What would it be called? I guess point. I don't know if we would need uobj or not. Probably not. Line to say probably not. Validate type, items I, MP type tuple, string point, which basically just is the string that will get put into the error message if the type doesn't match. In our case, it's not actually called type, but in our case, it doesn't have a name because it is just an item inside of a list. I don't know if you can append strings. Not really, I don't think. If anything, we could, I guess, try to put I into it, but I don't think we can do that really because it's qstringified. SP. Export. I finished this. Did I actually, no, I didn't post it yet. I guess there was a tiny bit more rated further. Does that post again in the Discord? Oh god, it's like stuck. Yeah. It's the build? I wish you could get your mpconfigure.make or whatever that file is inside the board directory. I wish you could find that inside of here so that after the fact you could go back and tell what flags and stuff you had on your device. Because now I have a build, but I don't know how that build was made. We should call it the singular of whatever the argument is. I assume will be points. The point is actually probably the best thing, even though it's not like actually literally having the name point. It doesn't have a name. Circle, polygon, as yes, points. Okay, got a build. What code are we on? We're on this one, which does raise. Okay. Okay. So far, so good. We got the same thing, what we expect, since we didn't actually change the code. Code that was actually used in this case. Theoretically, we could pass now, though, without this, I think. Oh, we shall see. Nice. And then if you had it like this, it would actually tell you the same thing. Must be type tuple, but it will say not int instead. Nice. I don't know if the comment is needed. I don't know. I mean, none of the rest of it is commented on like a per line basis. This bit here, I suppose, is the only other bit. But for instance, like all of these here serve a purpose of validating as well and are not commented that way. So I don't know, it feels more out of place than it does I think. Wouldn't any new lines or anything. Did in fact. Should we pull that up? I mean, didn't have any space before. Yeah, let's pull it up. Okay, pre-commit. You run pre-commit from here? Do I need to go up? Actually. Oh my. Oh, translate? Make translate? Oh, I think it runs it for you? Yeah, it runs it for you. It's probably just added a word for... These I didn't make. Whoa. Got freaking, hold on. Got dive bomb buzzed by some kind of little critter. I don't know what's up with these. These. Didn't touch shape. Touch MIDI track. Didn't touch display, frame buffer display, or RGB matrix, or anything about brightness. That's new from today. I remember Scott just talking about that. And that doesn't have anything to do with mine. I mean, the only thing that would have gotten... These are like error messages. Yeah, I mean, I didn't create any new error messages. Since I use those np-arg validate, they actually already have their messages, and it just fills in the types. I think I'm just gonna not commit that. Yeah. A lot of difference. There's more stuff now. Oh, right. This. Yeah, I mean, it's like, it thinks I deleted that for some reason, but I didn't. That's weird. Hit a new branch. Yeah. My change is only here. Well, the rest of this is just because I haven't updated my branch in a while. I've Alright, I'll leave this up and see if it doesn't pass actions, if we need to try to fix something. How long is this? Not too long. Okay, I'm gonna read this real quick. This came from the newsletter. That cute little USB-C cable, it's like 4 inches, if that, maybe 3 inches. Yeah, feather fence, maybe? Is there a date on this? 21? Does that run CircuitPython? Hold on, let me get that keyboard again. Nice nano. DMK. but cool nonetheless. Does it use IR? Or is that a switch? This thing. These things are like pointed at each other here. For a second I thought it was like old school, like there would be wireless things that would have like an IR transmitter and an IR receiver. Like old Mindstorms was like that originally. Nice. I think this is probably Linux only, but this is pretty sweet. rsync, what's crazy is I was like literally just thinking about this program and telling my wife about it when we were walking earlier. We went on a walk. I think it's like a copying utility that checks if files already exist or not before it copies them. So that way, like, if you copy the same thing that's already there, it won't spend any additional time other than how long it takes to check and ensure that it's the same thing. Whereas if you just copy it normally, it would spend the time to send the new data because it wouldn't bother to check if it was just overwriting the exact same thing. Interesting. So their idea basically is like include a script in the repo. So make a repo for every project, and then include a script in the repo that deploys to your microcontroller, basically. So when you're ready to run on the microcontroller, you run this script, and it copies the current version of your code. Which I will say is actually kind of convenient too. If you wanted to expand this process a little bit more, you could MPY cross your code if you wanted at this point. Like if you were really trying to squeeze all of the space and RAM that you could out of something, then you could be MPY crossing your CodePy. And it'd be real easy to just add that right as another step. This is basically like a build and run script, essentially. In this case, it's more like a run script, and the running is actually just copying files. But you could have it do other things in here. It's a neat idea. I like it. I feel like doesn't appear to be like a thumbs up or anything on this. Assuming you're on Linux. Apparently that assumption goes without saying, though. Cool. Okay. So we got some feedback on a couple things from In the Weeds. One of them was these asserts. Use it where it makes sense. Use it where it makes sense. However, it's actually been a little while since I had my Pi set up to run. We'll have to get that back up and running in order to be able to test it. Nope. Wrong project. Okay. This has got the type in. Okay, yeah, this has got the type annotations. It's got the asserts. So if we... Okay, yeah, let's get my Pi back up and running. I think, I don't know if I just did pip... If I need to, I'll go look back through the scripts I used. Already satisfied, actually. I can look back through the scripts I used to make those issues. Can I give it a directory? That's true. That should be int. I might have already. Might be already mentioned in here somewhere. Widget is going to be at the very end. Yeah. Okay. Already covered that one. Some of these I think are just like, if I would install this, I bet it probably would be okay. Yeah. That's not, I think I'm fine. Yeah, that one's weird, I guess, because I'm pretty sure it's a type in an instance. That's kind of strange, though. Has no attribute, but that's just because it doesn't know that font exists. Named argument x2. Okay. In fact, this is one of the ones where it is doing that exact thing. Expression has type palette. The variable has type none. Yeah, I guess that one will be a bit awkward because we'll have to create an empty palette, but I mean, we'll be creating an empty list for the other one also. Interesting, it still gives us an error though, right? If it's... So I was under the impression... that the assert here would be suppressing the error related to this. But we actually do still have this. Incompatible types in assignment as palette, but variable is none. Fusion 450. So does that change at all if this doesn't exist? 70 errors? That is more. I think it was 60 something. Has this unsupported target for indexed assignment none 455. Yeah. So the assert allows this line to not error. But this line actually does still error anyway on MyPy. So then the idea is basically, can we get rid of the error not by using assert? And actually, I think this might even fix both errors. Can you make a palette with 0? Basically, we'd be going back to here, and instead of setting this to none, do it as 0. And then this one, instead of setting it to none, it would be an empty list. But let's actually just do one at a time so I can keep track of what's changing. 67 now. Is that how many we had the first time? Fusion 450-ish. So now the next thing we have is 456. Circle. So yeah, it made it past this and this, which is gone now, and it made it past this one. None of those have errors anymore. Does incompatible types in assignment, expression has type circle, variable has none. Did it have that error before? 6? Did, yeah. That one's tougher. Draw pointer. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I have a fundamental disagreement with MyPy on this point, basically. I think it should be allowed, without raising any errors, to set something to none inside of init. So this is the init function right here. I think it should be allowed to set something to none here, which I look at as essentially initializing an empty variable, saying, hey, I want to use this variable. I'm not going to put anything in it right now. I don't have the stuff for it, but this is a variable, that's the name we want to use it, we're going to use it later on, so I'm initializing it as empty right now. And then later on in your code, it should be perfectly acceptable to go and say, hey, this thing that I initialized before that was none, now I would like to put a displayio palette into it. And I don't think that should cause an error, because I feel like that's a just common paradigm. Like, I don't know, creating an empty variable and then filling it in. I don't know. That feels like something that every program does. Doesn't seem like it's problematic. I guess it's, in this case, it's saying it's problematic because the type is changing. The type here is none, but then down here the type changes to be circle. So then I guess we could tell it, like, hey, you're going to be a circle. But then it will also have an error up here when it says, you told me this was going to be a circle, but it's actually a none. So I guess it would be optional. Circle, whatever kind of circle that was. What circle was that? Vector IO circle. Really? Nice. Yours. Unsupported. Did I put in the wrong one? Put in the wrong one. Put in the wrong one. This one would actually be palette. This one here, pointer, was the original vector IO circle. Yeah. 8. Circle palette we didn't do. Palette we didn't do. Okay. Okay, yeah, that got rid of that one. That got rid of this one. It's so now we're allowed to say pointer starts out as none and later changes to circle, and that's fine. Because we told it it's going to be optional circle. So then that would be basically the same fix here. That will be optional palette, but it's probably displayio palette. Although the other thing is we could do what the other suggestion was, which was putting an empty, but yeah, I guess where I was getting with it before is this one is non-practical to put an empty thing in. See, the palette, we can put an empty palette in. You know, I don't know. I would argue it's honestly probably not worth it to put an empty palette in it because we're like initializing that pallette's consuming memory. And it's like literally not going to do anything except for make this compile time tool happier. In this case. Empty list is, I think, fine. Like, that was the original suggestion to fix this one, was empty list. And that's fine, because I feel like this also conveys, like, hey, we're making an empty variable. Which may still actually need to be done. We haven't even gotten into the plot point asserts yet, but there were a few asserts around that as well. But let's see if this works for getting our palette ones taken care of. So that's down to 65. Okay, cool. Yeah, we have nothing around 450 anymore, actually. So yeah, that takes care of all that stuff. And I did should get rid of that assert, I think. So, yeah, cool. I mean, I can't say as though I actually fully understand why it doesn't think there's an error still, though, truthfully, because, like, it still started out as none. We just told it that it's allowed to be none. I am a little surprised it doesn't still raise an error, because if it got to this line with this thing being none, it would actually raise an exception. Which the assert would too, I suppose, but it's gonna raise essentially the exact same. I mean, well, it's not gonna be the exact same message, because this one will say assertion error. And this one will say, I don't know, basically that you can't square brackets off of none. Yeah. And I think it's not. In this case, the assert doesn't actually add any clarity to the code either, because the way the code is written, it is literally impossible for this to be none if the universe is working as intended, right? Because we literally just set this right here. Like, we know it's not none because we just put this into it. I guess maybe that's what now it knows. Somehow, by telling it optional up here, we made it know that. Kind of interesting that it didn't before, now that I think about it the other way around. So then plot point line was the other one. So there's still, I think, a couple of these. So that one is different. See, here it's not setting it like immediately before. Add plot line here as well. Plot line point. Plot line point. Where does plotline point get created? So neither of these things are happy if it is none. Where does it actually become not none? It does start here as none. Anyway, here we have an if. Where's this add point? Plotline point. And it appends a tuple to it after creating it right here. So when it does get created, it gets created as an empty list and then gets a tuple added to it. $592. 69 errors. 95 value is not indexable. Every time it tries to access a thing from it, it says value is not indexable. Calling it assert here is one of the ways that you can clear those, because then it knows that it's not none. So that then the other way that we could do it in this case for this one, which does actually, I think, make a little bit more sense because it's not like a full object like a circle or a palette. And it's already getting created as an empty list anyway, so this is actually just changing when it happens. Should also fix the same errors. Value of type still listed as optional, so we actually want to take optional off. Or if it will even be mad that it doesn't have a tuple. Outlines. I mean, the same thing is happening here, right? That's just setting it to none. It would have gotten set to empty list and then back to a tuple inside of add point. We can actually skip ahead to just make an empty list now. Or back to our original 65 errors. And we don't have that assert anymore. Six 14, 15. Nice. That's just the same. Then a lot of these are like, if I would install some things, I think a lot of these would be fixed. Widget was one that would not be fixed by installing anything, but I did already comment on that on the PR. Is this unsupported right operand? I don't know what that means. Not in. Grid layout? For in. Oh yeah, right operand for in grid layout. Basically it doesn't know, it seems to not know that group is allowed to be used within in. I don't know where it would get those from. Already satisfied, so it's not pulling them from there. That or group is not defined as allowed for that, maybe? don't really know how in it's allowed to work. Technically, I would think these are the two things you would need. Sorted right operand for in. Are they still running? The last time I did a what's on waiting still. Contains. So like that's just declared by itself. It doesn't actually have any code with it, which I think is what we want, right? All of our code works already. I don't know why. It's probably, I guess, how something to do with how MicroPython implements in, I suppose. The subscript it did all together. Sort. Unary op. Not supported. Yeah, I don't know where the right place to put it would be, but I'm pretty sure if we... What? I want that there. Contains... a union yeah, basically these. This would be a nice thing to have an alias for, actually. A term for all the things that can be added to a group, which is tile grids, groups, polygons, rectangles, circles from vector.io, the last three. Not a single term that encompasses all of those I know of. Unless you count this as a single term, which I don't, because it's like a million miles long. And it does return a bool. I wonder if this arbitrary line is going to be problematic. Thanks. What the for sure there was a cat on a counter. Do you format the return in this? Screw. Okay, let's do. Oh, we gotta go make stubs. Module isort. Okay. Module black. That's very unlikely. Does pre-commit have its own place where stuff is installed? Installed stuff. That's. Oh. Oh, I don't know which Python interpreter this is. It's gotta be using the only. Okay, never mind. dispidf apparently has its own Python environment. I did not know it created, but it did. That's what it's using, which is why it doesn't have sort of black. So it's because we're exported on. Let's close this. I think if we weren't exported on ESP-IDF, we'd be using the system installation of Python, which already has this stuff. What is this? Okay, I don't know. Did that succeed or just a warning? Deprecated installer? I don't know. I didn't run pip install anything, so I'm not sure why it's telling me this. To do with the packaging, I guess. Yeah, I think it's something to do with the packaging. This actually got new stuff in it. $18.26. It's in right, okay, yeah, it's in. I was like, that's not 16 in my time zone, but 24-hour time. So that is right now. So now we need to figure out how to get that installed into Python. Don't do it, buddy. Setup py. Okay, so I think we can go pip install dot. Okay. And after all of these, will we no longer have this error right here, hopefully? $64. Yeah. Nice. Let's make a branch for this. Oh, hey, that's interesting. That left us back on main. Oh, no. No. No, I don't. Yeah. It thinks we have unpushed commits that we intend to push to main, and that is not true. We have an unpushed commit, but it's not a commit that we're intending to push to main. Okay, we're gonna snag this. Snag this. We are gonna just we're gonna start by just rollback. So now my file is gone. So the thing is, if you right click, it's gonna open this menu, right? But the problem is if you right click and then you highlight onto an item with right click down still, and then you let go, it takes the action, so it does close. But the problem is it's super easy to, in one single motion, go right click down a little bit, release really, really, really fast, like instantaneously, when you're just trying to right click and nothing else. And then it closes and your thing's gone. Go back. This is neither here nor there, but idea if you happen to be watching. But not. Yeah, so it still thinks we have this. So we're gonna just get off of this branch altogether. We're gonna go all the way over to here. And the changes and the why, though I didn't do it. Gosh. Okay, I'm gonna find that file somehow. Where's that at? CircuitPython locale. I'm gonna revert that also. Roll back. Now we're gonna go to another branch. Now we're just gonna delete main branch in my local of any pop-ups. I'm gonna delete main branch in my local repo. Unmerged commits were discarded, which is good. That's what I want. Because that commit, it got pushed. It's pushed into that other branch that we created. It's still just chilling here for some reason. Pushed into there. I just don't have this locally. It's a bit awkward, but not the end of the world. So that's gone. So now we want to get a fresh main with no anything. My music stopped at the exact time as I did that clean. No, I don't want to clean. I want to pull. Because I think there's going to be changes to that blue one. I think is telling us we have changes in remote that we don't have local. Back to the slow updates. For a little bit there, I was getting really, really fast get pulls on main. Like traditionally, it was pretty slow for me. But starting a few weeks ago, I actually had a bunch where it went really fast for some reason. It's back to the slower one now, though. Thing over second thing. I don't know. Dating. Fortunately, we just wait on that. I don't think I can. Like, if I do the next step before this is done, it's gonna be all messed up. So. Oh, this finally ran one of the things. I don't know if you can. I think I've seen those before. tab. Oh boy, I get the old error. It will just scroll up, right? And it's big set of builds. This is done finally. 20 more commits. Okay, so we want to make a branch first this time, since that's how we got ourselves into that whole mess. Git checkout -b. This is the group contains stub. That's going to be from Adafruit main. That is going to be with the no track flag. Group contains stub. Okay, now we need to get back into our file. It was in shared bindings, displayio. And yeah, I had put it in here, although I'm not sure if that's actually the best place for it. That's what feedback PR is for. There, and then we go back and let's try a pre-commit. I assume this is going to do the whole translation thing and then give me those changes. Although maybe because of those new commits it won't do that. Oh, it split up another line there. Interesting. Do we run black on the comments? Yeah, I guess we must, huh? Okay, let's do a make stubs also, just to make sure that builds. Okay. It does have this, which might be worth looking into at some point. For what that means. Okay. So basically either is fine in terms of union with none versus the optional. And then this pipe thing is a new, why does this say pending? Can I not submit this? So the thing is, I wanted to just post it as a comment, but I seem to have made it stuck on a... basically like this comment and then this as the base one or whatever. I don't know why that treated it as like a new thing. Really, I wanted to like reply back to that one that was there, but whatever. I'm just glad I actually saw that it wasn't posted yet. Really what I was trying to get was this to link into that new one here. Oh, it's not. It says it did post. I don't know. We probably doubled that up now, honestly. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Whatever. Unions requiring Python 3.8. Do we declare any other minimum version anywhere? It's like not a, don't think an official measurement, but a lot of our tooling will be relying on Blinka. You know what's another good thing to check actually inside here? What is this one? Does it say anything about a version? Not really. Setup tools. Doesn't have minimum version that I can see. Okay. I'll be right back. Say 370. I don't know, actually know the answer to this, so I posted over in CircuitPython dev. Basically, it boils down to, though, if this one does require Python 3.8, the next question is, do we want to include that or not? Do we want to merge that or not? For me personally, this will not matter. I have Python 3.10, so I'm newer than that anyway. It won't make a difference, but technically, as far as I'm aware, this is like the closest thing we have to a kind of like minimum supported version, which is currently on 3.7. And so if we do accept this change, then I think the new minimum supported version for this library then becomes 3.8, if that is required. In which case, like, I think I'd lean away from doing it if it bumps it up to a newer version. And that's the only change, is like slightly different syntax for union. It is convenient, like the syntax is nice. But I don't know if it's nice enough to warrant, like, you know, force somebody to upgrade to a newer Python. Also, I think it's worth considering, like, you know, what is the default version in a Raspberry Pi? I think my Raspberry Pi is still on, is it port 119? Looks like it's on. I don't know what its IP was last time, or if it's like actually on and alive. So yeah, pending, I think the answer on that kind of determines what we want to do here. In my mind, if it does bump our minimum up to 3.8, I think I'm in favor of leaving it out for now. If our minimum is otherwise 3.7, as far as I know, it is, just based on this. Maybe there's some place I'm not aware of. If our minimum is already 3.8, then that's not a big deal at all, because that would be in line. It's definitely worth checking Raspberry Pi, whatever the default version in there is. If that's 3.7, then I would think we definitely don't want to update to make our minimum 3.8 for now. All right, so we got through a bunch of stuff with this. I will probably commit. Well, let's see, we could commit this back, I think, right? What all did we end up changing in here? It was optional vector IO circle, optional palette, and then for the last one, instead of optional, we went list. And we were able to drop our assert for that. We're able to drop our assert for that, and for that. Yeah, and that was just resetting that back to being an empty list instead of none, which is more or less the exact same change as what's inside of the init. It's just that is outside of init in some kind of reset function or something. It's origin, get remote, rename origin, Adafruit. I already don't like this. Yeah. That's actually, it's really. Can I default this back? Like, okay, yeah, that's like literally, I mean, it's one click, but it's one click every time I want to clone a repo, which I kind of clone a lot of repos. I don't use whatever this is, but I guess that's what they're trying to tell me I should be doing. Thanks, GitHub. What is this? It's Cguardia. How do you spell it? C-G-U-A. Commit, make sure we're all good there. Okay. So that swaps out our asserts for solutions that work better in this case, although it's also worth noting in the meeting we said asserts are not bad. When the time comes up to use them, they're fine. But in this case, we got other solutions. It does still need to be tested. There's still also a couple other things that need to be fixed, like scale needs to be swapped over to int. And maybe that's it. The union versus none, I mean, that we could say is resolved because it's either or. Like, I don't have a strong preference. This I do want to test. That's resolved by the new commit. That will need to be fixed still. Scale needs to be fixed still. Tried to delete this a minute ago, but I guess it didn't work. Or it did, but it's not on that tab. Something weird, I don't know. Anyway, it's gone here. That's nice, yeah. So those two things are still remaining, and these three things actually. The 3.8 with the pipes, there's a import that needs to be moved, there's a scale that needs to change to int. Also, there's actions that need to pass. If I happen to break the actions, that will need to be fixed too. I think I am headed out for now with that. Thank you everybody for watching. Hope you all have a good rest of your day and a good week and all that stuff. I'll be back certainly on Friday for the deep dive. May or may not pop on some other evening this week. Who knows? If you want to be privy to that, if it does happen, you can follow me over on Twitch. Otherwise, yeah, I'll just say good day, good night, good week, and see you next time.